Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Still playing around here on this Tall T. Getting a few things done. I'll just show you where I'm at here. I'm kind of waiting for the owner to get here. I got to check the rear slip joint on the transmission to make sure we got lots of clearance. In the meantime, I've got the pattern all done as I showed in the previous video there. I've got it all cut out. I cut out a blank of steel to get it started, and I did a test piece to make sure it was going to work the way I had planned. So what I've got is I've got a piece of 18 gauge that I broke 90 degrees, and then I used about an 8-inch radius die in my English wheel with the rubber band on the top wheel and put this curve in. So that's pretty much how the Firewall is going to fit. I just want to get approval before I carry on. In the meantime, what I started on is the transmission tunnel. Gonna build a piece to cover the tranny there. Cardboard pattern, courtesy of Bud Light. And here's my blank. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to run it through the English wheel to build a crown. And then I'm going to bend a flange so that it can be screwed to the floor. The floor in this is at 1/8 thick, so it could be drilled and tapped. So I'll get set up in the English wheel here and bring you over. Okay guys, we're set up on the English wheel here. What I've got is my piece of rubber on the top wheel. Holy cow, give me a sec here. I'm going to have to clean that lens. Wow, was that thing ever dirty. Okay, so I've got the rubber band on my upper wheel. And once again, you can purchase one of these bands for, I think they're about 25 bucks US, or you can buy the proper size tire tube and cut yourself 30 or 40 of them for a $12 tube. So my piece only needs to be curved in one direction on the for the most part. It needs a curve put in it this way. It'll also have to come up on the front a little bit. So what I'm going to start with the band on, it only curves it in one direction. When you take the band off, then it starts to stretch the steel, and it'll take it in two directions. One is form and one is shape. We'll just tighten this up here a bit. You got to be careful with the rubber band pushing the steel through to start it. The sharp edge of the steel can really screw up, it can put little cuts in the band. This is going to happen really quick, and I only have light pressure on it. I need more shape in the front end than I do in the back end. So with it being wider, it's going to get more passes. Okay, you saw that in real time. That was about 8 passes through the English wheel, and you can see the curve that it's already got in it. Okay, so I'm just going to keep running this through till I get the curvature that I want. Just going to loosen it up a little bit. Not quite that much. Okay, I'm thinking we've got pretty much enough in there now. Just going to straighten it out a little bit in a couple spots. Okay, so next I'm going to take my highly curved piece of steel and I'm going to break a flange in it with the bead roller. Okay, so what I have here is my tipping die and a polyurethane roller on the underside. It doesn't take a whole lot of pressure because what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this line around and I'm going to put upward pressure on it while I'm running it through with the tipping die, and it's going to put a crease and start to straighten that out. What it's going to do is distort the panel all to hell because some of this will need shrinking and some of this will need stretching. And I'll do that to get it to lay flat after I'm done. I'll just move you back here a little bit so I don't knock you over. I'm just going to put a slight bit of pressure up on it. It's going to take quite a few passes around. As you can see, it's picking up on the bead roller. I've got probably 15 or 20 pounds of upward pressure on it. The bottom, again, because it's so shallow, is not going to take a whole lot to get it up flat. It's real important to keep a real steady pressure pulling up on the piece. And I'm no professional at this, so take it for what it is. Get up to the front here and it takes a lot more pressure to get it to lift up. Okay, so that's the first pass. You can see it started to flatten that out really nice. So I'm going to go one more time. I'm going to go backwards this time. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go the same way I went. No point in adding extra headaches to it. It'll need planishing on a flat surface just to make that flange nice and flat. Probably use a flat round hammer on my piece of I-beam. Okay, it's almost flat. I'm probably going to have to put some shape in here to bring the nose up because it's kind of curving down, as you can see. So I'm just going to go test fit this. We'll see how we made out. Okay guys, it's really close for spending 10 minutes on it. What I'm going to do is I've got to stretch the front a little bit more to get it to start to curve up towards the engine, and then I can come back and I can probably just planish this all flat and we should be good to go. I'm going to do a little bit more work on the English wheel and some planishing, and then I'll bring you back. Okay guys, that was literally 5 minutes on the I-beam planishing just to get a nice flat flange. It's a little too big, it's all got to be trimmed down. I'm going to put a little bit of shape up in the front there just to start that curving up. And I'm going to do that by taking the rubber off of the English wheel upper. I knew I could spit it out if I tried hard enough. Okay, I'll set you up and show you on there. Okay, so I ran it around a little bit more in this plane, and then I turned the panel over and rolled it this way, the opposite direction, to get this reverse roll in here to bring this down, give it more curve. Now I'm going to take the rubber band off. It's way easier to get off than to put on. Come on. Okay. Okay, now we'll just get it in here and we'll start putting some form in it. Not going to go with great pressure. Pulling up a little bit on it. Okay, that's got it smoothed out really good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to the planishing hammer with a high radius die, and I'm going to try and roll that edge up on it. Now it's going to be way too noisy to do with Okay, that was literally 10 minutes on the planishing hammer. I was able to get a really nice roll up on the panel here. It's all lots of clearance on the transmission. I'm ready to mark it and trim it, and then I'll finish planishing, and then it can be, I don't think I'll drill it yet. I might put a couple clecos in it, and then I can start building from there up to the firewall once it gets installed. Okay guys, here we are. It's holiday Monday, August long weekend. I have my blank marked out as I showed it in the previous video. I have a 1/2 inch line marked here. I'm going to run it through my step dies. These are just the 1/8 or 1/16 step dies. What that's going to do is give me a little lip where I can weld the firewall to the front of the car. Boy, having a hell of a time here trying to talk. So I'm just going to see if I can get you into a spot where you can see what's happening. Too much stuff in the way. Okay, we'll run this through the bead roller. As soon as I find the rest of my tools. There we go. Nice thing about having the hoist here is it makes a really good work table for holding the piece while I'm running it through the bead roller. released a little bit. Tightened that too much. There we go. Okay, we're going to start in about an inch from the end and then backtrack. Okay, it's on contact there now. I'm just going to go one full turn to begin with, and then I'll start it, take it back to the end. I don't want to run right off the end. Then I'm going to take it another half a turn, run it back, and now we got to run her through here really straight. Having the hoist here is just like having another person. The center part of this is going to get cut out after I get it welded in for that little tunnel for the distributor to go into. Just going to run this through here once. I think it's ending up really straight. Okay. Release the tension. Pop you out of here, and you can see I've got a little step in it there. Get the light in the right spot. There we go. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I got to figure out, and I've got to break this at 90 degrees, and then I can start on the English wheel with the 8-inch radius. And we'll put the curve in here so that it follows that cutout in the firewall. Okay, I'll get set up here and I'll bring you. Okay guys, we're set up in the brake. I have the piece that I just put the step in locked into the brake, and I'm now going to put a 90-degree bend in it, or try. It's right on the edge of that crease. And there we go. Let's see how this turned out. See if I got it in orientated the right way. That'll be the next thing I screw up. Okay, that worked really well. I have the 90 there now. So this will tuck in on the firewall and go from there. So now I got to get set up in the English wheel over there and start putting the curve in it. Okay, so we've got the English wheel set up with the rubber band on the top flat wheel. I've got my piece orientated the way I want it. I'm going to start right on the edge where I broke it. I'm going to put moderate pressure on it. You have to make sure that you do nice even strokes from one end to the other so that you don't compound the fold in it. So nice straight right along the edge of the brake there. What I've got to do is develop this 8-inch radius till this turns down at a 90-degree angle. Got to go right out to the Okay, I'm just going to run her back and forth here many times. It actually happens really quick. Watch your fingers, because it will eat them. I don't want to go more than about 3 inches down the panel. Just going to go back and forth over the same area multiple times. I'm using the 90 degree as a guide. Okay, so that's what we have in it so far. I'm just going to keep working on this until it's turned down at 90 degrees. Okay guys, so we have the piece. Here's my test piece. As you can see, we've got the radius developed. We have the lip on top here for welding. Now I'm going to have to pull the motor and trans again, and I can fit this piece into the car. Okay, so we're back again. I lost a couple of days there to yard work. What I'm doing now is I've got my cardboard pattern and I've refitted it with my toe boards cut out. What I've done, I had to cut out the opening in the cardboard to get it in with the engine in, and then I've slowly added material back here to get the tightest fit I could around the transmission. I've got a line right there that I'm going to have to trim out for a little more clearance. So what I'm going to do now is trim that, and then I'm going to transfer this to my blank for my Firewall, and then I'm going to put these two lower kickboard bends in it, and then I'm going to try a fit after I trim the top corners here to fit around the radius I put in there. So once I get this pulled out of here and I get the setup to put those two bends in, I have my bevel gauge set with the angle that I need, then we'll go from there. Okay, so I have everything trimmed on my pattern. I'm now going to pull this down and I'm going to mark all my openings onto the piece of steel. My trim marks here on top, and then I'm going to attempt to cut this out without wrecking it, seeing as I got so much time in it already. So, okay, get her marked out here and we'll cut it out. Okay, I've got everything marked out. This is what I have to trim off the top corners on both sides. This needs to get trimmed off the outer edges. This is a cut straight up. The center with the X, this gets cut out. That's clearance for the transmission. Same on this side. And then this section here will get broke towards the inside to the same as what my bevel gauge is showing. So I'm going to figure out how to cut this. It's going to be quite a complicated cut. I don't think I can do it with the angle grinder. Not quite sure how I'm going to go about it. I could do the plasma. I'm just a little worried about warpage. So anyhow, we'll figure out how we can do this. Okay guys, I've decided to take a chance on it and plasma cut it. So I got the little cut 50 all hooked up here and we'll give her a try. Just not sure which way is best for me to go here. looks like a piranha knotted off. Not too bad. I left it a little bit proud so that I can grind into my line. I'm going to have the, once this is bent, it'll make a lot more sense. It's just going to have the curve up top. I'm going to weld the tunnel portion to the firewall, and then that section that I built previous is going to screw into this with not tech screws, but rivet nuts and pan head screws. Okay guys, so what I've got here is I got the cut all cleaned up and done with the angle grinder. When I bend the toe boards here, my original plan was to try and hammer form these on the piece of I-beam I have. But what I've decided is I'm going to bend the whole piece, and then the two little strips on the end that finish the body off, I'm going to straighten them back out. I think I'll get a much nicer bend for the toe board than if I try hammer forming the 8-inch piece and leave the 1-inch piece. So I have my angle finder. Just grab my leverage bars. Uh-oh, only going to be able to use one, I think. Start the bend. Both in now. I'd sooner sneak up on this than overdo it. Nope, it's still not going to work. Fair ways to go there yet. Just a touch more. Pretty close there now, so now what I'll do is I'll take it out. I'll put these other ones back down where they go. Once I get a test fit, I'll just show you on the piece here. Get it out of the brake. One of these days I'm going to make some little cranks for this. Okay, so we have the toe board pieces coming out. Firewall sits like that. Then these end pieces here now, I'm going to straighten them back out so that they're the same angle as the firewall itself here. Okay, looking down on the firewall, these are the pieces here that I said I was going to straighten back out. Once I know the fit is good, I've got these all trimmed, I will make an angle piece that fills this gap in, and that'll seal the firewall to the inside of the cab. So now the tedious part starts, and that'll be fine-tuning all of these edges so they line up on the cutout in the firewall. And then I can start tack welding it in. Once I know it's all good, then I can start on the cutout for the distributor. Okay guys, after a little better than an hour of cutting and grinding and fitting and cutting and grinding and fitting, we have an almost perfect fit on the firewall, on the top and the two sides. What I've done is I've put 6 clecos across the top to hold it in place. Let's come around here. When you're using these clecos, when you drill your holes, you got to make sure that you take the two pieces apart and clean any of the flashing from your drill holes, because it'll hold the two pieces apart and make it a lot harder to do a real nice plug weld when you go to weld everything in. So on the inside, what I've done is I drilled 4 holes in the firewall part that I can use for a plug weld from the inside to hold it all in place while I do all the welding on the outside here. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the MIG welder. I'm going to tack everything in place nice and solid, and then I'm going to build the corner fill-in pieces that go on each side of the toe boards, get those tacked in, and then I'll TIG weld the entire firewall into the cab. Okay guys, back again. I got all the firewall is tacked in except for the top there. I'm leaving that until I do the hole here for the distributor. I'm just going to start working on that piece now. What I've got done inside here is I got those 2 corner fillets made. I've plug welded them to the top, tack welded them in on the edges of the firewall. This has added a whole bunch of strength to the firewall. I cut the hole for the brake pedal to come through, and I'll just go inside here and show you what I've got in there with the plug welds and stuff. Get the light on if I can. Okay, so I've got the plug welds in on the toe boards. Oh, it echoes in here, and everything's fit really nice. I've got my level clamped on there just to hold everything nice and square while I'm getting it all fastened together. So working on the piece for the distributor, what I've got is I just took a piece of scrap and ran it through the English wheel with the rubber band on. I've got it to the right radius now. Next thing I've got to do is this top end here has to be curved in to meet the firewall. So what I'm going to do is make a real mess out of this now using my tucking fork. I'm going to start putting folds in here and then beat them down flat to get this shrunk so it pulls it up this way. I'll probably have to use the shrinker stretcher as well. So I'll get started on this and show you how we get this done. Okay guys, so I've got the shrinking fork set up here in the vise. I've taken the piece and I've put these 3 puckers in them. All you do is you put it in and twist it. What it does is it gathers up a bunch of the steel in these 3 puckers. And then I've got a block of wood here with a curve, a dish pulled out of it. I have a big heavy spruce stump that I'm going to cut this out and shape it so that I'll have a shrinking stump. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my nylon hammer with this in the curve. I'm going to pound these puckers flat. And what it does is it starts to gather up the material in those puckers, and as you can see, it starts to shrink the end of the pipe or the piece of steel. So what I'll do is I'll keep putting these puckers in until I have enough curve out here that I can shape it to my firewall. Okay, I'll bring you back after I keep pounding this out. As you can see, this piece gets really ugly before it gets pretty. So I'm just going to keep pounding out all of these little wrinkles, gathering up all this material to make this curve. I put it in the shrinker stretcher a few times just to get the edge, because the bigger this is, the more you have to shrink the outside edges. So, okay guys, there's That's about 2 hours of shaping, planishing with the planishing hammer and running it through the English wheel. I've got about 1.25 inches of shrink roll in on the end here. Now I have to fit this to the firewall. I may end up having to add a little bit of steel in here. I just can't get it to roll quite enough. That's way too much shrink for the tools I have. If I had a power hammer with a shrinking die, be a different story. Okay, I'm going to start fitting this piece I just made into the firewall. And what I've done is I cut the flange off of here that I had carried across. I took this and I slid it in and I put a mark in here, and I'm going to slowly grind this back, creep up on it till I can get this piece to sit in here really nice, and then I'll slide it up and I'll start working out the top of it here. It's going to take a while, that's for sure. So, because as this goes in, it also goes down. So then I'll have to do a compound cut on my filler piece as well. Okay guys, I got the 2 openings roughed in. Actually, they're a little more than roughed in. What I've got now is I put a rough cut mark on my new panel that goes in here. So I'm going to cut this with my zip disc, leaving it a little bit proud so I can fit it a little bit more. I'll be able to see a little better, and then it'll just be a little bit of grinding and fit. And then once I get it tacked in, I can true up all the edges, and then we can proceed with welding everything. Okay guys, I got this piece tacked in here. Trimmed it the best I could. I still have to trim the bottom here into the proper shape to go underneath on the curve on the bottom of the firewall. It's going to be a bit of a bitch to weld, but Lord hates a coward. Let's get at her. Okay guys, I've got the pieces all welded in. I got it ground and sanded. I'm just going to do another test fit on the engine here, and we'll see how it looks and go from there. Okay guys, I got that in there welded up, all dressed up. Engine fits like a glove. We got lots of clearance. I put the distributor in after I put the engine in, so that's not a problem. And I think there might even be room if it decides to go with an HEI style distributor. So I've got to finish welding everything with the TIG and go from there. I wanted to make sure here before I got too far. Let me grab a light. And as usual, I made the opening a bit too tight. I've got some trim lines there I've got to do, kind of bending those kick panels with the transmission. So I'll make some clearance, and then I can start on the top piece of the tunnel and get this thing wrapped up. So I'm going to call that good for this video. We're off to Alberta again tomorrow, another car show. I'm hoping to take the camera and get some video. It's usually a good one. It's in Coaldale, Alberta on Main Street. Really nice venue. So hoping to have a good relaxing weekend. So take care guys. Thanks for subscribing. I really appreciate y'all, and take care.